I had a lot of help. Um, it was a wonderful setup. I had a model in the respect that I had the original footage to work from. So that gave me some idea of a physicality and a way of being. Uh, then, of course, they designed a makeup it's quite extreme, that served as a mask, served as a disguise that certainly would, take myself away from myself and put me someplace else. It creates when you don't quite feel like yourself or look like yourself, that's always a fertile place for pretending. So that was important, and then I had this costume that really put restrictions on how I would move. So that's where I started, really from a place of imitation, and then dealing with all these external things to help me find a way of moving and a way of being. I'm always hard pressed to say, because you can't, you don't remember well enough, and you don't want to be, and anecdotes never quite come to mind. But he's great. He's a great partner to work with. I mean, he's smart. He's a little bit perverse. He's got a great sense of humor. He's charming. I like being around him, and he's got skills, and he's a substantial person. So when you stand across from him and you're playing a scene, you know that he can only do it in an inspired fashion. To believe that this film is not fiction is to believe that you have to believe in vampires. So, if you do believe in vampires, I can't help you, to separate the real from the unreal in this movie. So much of our movie is invention. It's really a riff. It's an idea that uses as a starting place the Nosferatu movie. They're both driven, and I think Elias secretly identifies with Murnau. But I mean, personality-wise, Elias is a sweetheart. It's a different time. He's got a light touch, and he gave me a wonderful setup where Murnau, from what we know, seemed it was a different time, very controlling and very dictatorial, and I had probably a certain degree of contempt for actors, I would imagine.
One of the reasons to create Saturn Films was because I felt that as an actor, I was only accessing part of my capabilities. One of the things that I like to do is to match talents. And it's sort of like putting together your favorite party of people. And with producing, I was able to put people together that I thought were extremely talented that would work well together. One of the things that excited me was to be able to put two of my favorite actors together with Shadow the Vampire, John Malkovich, who I'd worked with on Con Air, and Willem Dafoe, who I worked with on Wild at Heart. To see these two of my favorite actors acting with one another was exciting. And Shadow the Vampire was really the ideal first production for Saturn Films because it seemed to have so many elements that I love, that I've been drawn to. I've made my own vampire film in the past, Vampire's Kiss, and there's a sort of a gothic uniqueness to this film that appeals to my tastes. One of the things about it that I like a lot is the fact that I was able to introduce Elias Marriage from his movie Begotten, who was the director of Shadow the Vampire. I'd seen Begotten, and it was so unique and so brave, so unusual, that I thought how exciting to see these three people work together. Shadow the Vampire was a title that always made me nervous because marketing people and audience film goers, they tend to get nervous with the word vampire. Anytime you have the word vampire in a title, you cast a sort of a pall on the genre, you know, and I didn't want that to happen to Shadow the Vampire. So for a long time I tried to call it Burn Delight, you know, or something else so people would accept the movie for more than just a standard vampire piece or a schlock vampire piece. But I think quickly into the production we saw the magnitude of the acting and of the directing and the visual style that people would be okay with it, that it would speak for itself. Elias compares to Murnau in that I see a kindred spirit in that they're both artists, truly artists, with original expressions. And in that regard, they're similar. Elias is a dedicated director who wants to really express himself honestly and really won't stop unless he gets what he wants. So in that regard, there's a similarity in the character in the film. But Elias is also a gentleman, and he's a decent man who works well with others and is collaborative and is a joy to be around, whereas the character Murnau in Shadow the Vampire really isn't. He's kind of self-obsessed and really cares about nothing but the movie, whereas I think that Elias is a little more well-rounded than that. Well, Willem Dafoe is a unique actor in that he comes from a unique theater group, the Wooster Group in New York. And I've always been interested in sort of the next levels of acting. I like kabuki, for example, trying to figure out how can I bring kabuki into modern American film acting. With silent film, I thought, why not try to bring some of the old techniques of the silent film stars and bring that into modern film acting? It seems like the Wooster Group does that, achieves that. They're not afraid to go outside the box, so to speak. They're not afraid to, they're not locked into the naturalistic style only. They can do that, but they're very comfortable in the surreal style, or the ultra real, like the condensed gesture that actually speaks more than just the natural gesture. And so Willem's gift and his technique really made it possible for Nosferatu or Count Orlok to be organic. You know, it wasn't like somebody who wasn't comfortable with the larger-than-life performance style. This is somebody who is very comfortable and lives there with his theater group. So it seemed like the appropriate choice, and that's what he brought to it, amongst other things, which is just his own individual screen presence, which is also extremely unique, and that you can't be taught. You either have it or you don't. John Malkovich is probably one of four of the greatest American actors we have today, and he also comes from his own background and his group from the Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago. And again, how interesting to see John Malkovich, who comes from a stylized theater group called Steppenwolf, and then Willem Dafoe, who comes from a stylized theater group called the Wooster Group, and to see these two work together. And John, I had discovered his acting in A True West when he did that stage production, but he did it a video version of it, which I saw. I have never been so excited in my life watching another actor perform as when I saw that. I haven't laughed so much before. I mean, it was just electric and hilarious and fun. And nobody gets upset like John Malkovich on screen. I mean, when John Malkovich loses it on film, it's a rainbow of colors. I mean, I don't know what's going on. It's a lot of fun to watch. So I was really happy. I mean, I really wanted Elias to push him to blow up a lot, because I wanted to see that fun stuff that he does, and he did it in Shadow the Vampire. He's also totally unique. I mean, there's nobody like John. He contributed so much to this script. He did a lot of his own writing. The last monologue really is virtually all John, when he's talking about, you know, every lie to a child, and as he's having his emotional breakdown at the final scene of the film, that's really John Malkovich at his best. And so I'm very, he brought it home. You know, John really brought it home when he says, "I think we have it."